Hello there, it's Carl Munson on the Good Morning Portugal radio show. Well, it's a podcast, and it's actually good afternoon. So, hola, boa tarde, everybody listening. And I've just come on air because I'm actually at the airport, coincidentally, and it's Freedom Day, April 25th in Portugal, and just wanted to tell you a little bit about that because it's a very important and auspicious day in the Portuguese calendar. National holiday here, but the airport's nice and busy. Drove here over the bridge of the same name, the 25, what was that be? That'd be 25 de Abril. Forgive me and my pronunciation, but yeah, 25th of April bridge, came across the iconic bridge which celebrates and commemorates this day. And I'm just reading an article on the Portuguese American Journal, which is rather good. Just a couple of paragraphs from that. A piece written by Carolina Matos, the editor of the Portuguese American Journal. A great article, just to give you a bit of an introduction. And I'll turn the chat on just in case anybody wants to shout out in the chat room as well. Carolina writes here, since 1974, Freedom Day is celebrated in Portugal, April 25th, as a national holiday to mark the bloodless military coup supported by the civilian population, bringing democracy and civil liberties to the Portuguese people. Now, this is only 44 years ago. That's me chipping in there on Carolina's article. So it's in our lifetimes for many of us, which is quite remarkable, I think. After almost 5 decades of dictatorship from 1937 to 1974, the Carnation Revolution, which was known as, ended the Estado Novo regime, the longest dictatorship in Europe, changing the Portuguese political system from an authoritarian dictatorship to a democracy. Yay! The revolution was undertaken by the armed forces movement, which was known as the MFA in Portugal, led by General Antonio Spinola and other prominent civilian and army figures. In a matter of hours, General Spinola received the surrender of overthrown Prime Minister Marcelo Caetano, who was forced into exile in Brazil. Spinola took charge of a provisional government which promised to restore civil liberties and hold democratic general elections. Hundreds of political prisoners were released. Wow. In 1974, more than half of Portugal's government budget was spent with its armed forces engaged in wars in 3 of Portugal's African colonies. The new regime implemented a swift decolonisation programme, granting independence to Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique, the Cape Verde Islands, São Tomé e Príncipe, and Angola. So amazing. No wonder it's an important date in the diary here and a worthy thing of celebration. I was looking at a video about the blockchain, which you may have heard of, a technological development, and was thinking 44 years ago the Carnation Revolution was taking place in Lisbon on this very day across Portugal. And Lisbon is such a buzzing, thriving place now, and we have different challenges here now. Obviously, there's no comparison really, but the state of play, interestingly, I think, as we've moved from this dictatorship here, not we, I wasn't here, but as we collectively have moved from a dictatorship running Portugal now into what could arguably be described as the takeover of neoliberal capitalism. We've got Airbnb's pricing people out of Lisbon. They're the very same people, actually, who may have taken part in the Carnation Revolution and rented homes in central Lisbon, may today be being priced out of that space by Airbnb, for example, and the boom. Obviously, always 2 sides to a boom. And, the roads are getting choked up. I hear that Uber cars now travel around empty and are starting to cause blockages not only here but all over the world in major cities as they wait for fares in their gig economy thing, as they're hoping to make business. And, they're driving around because if they don't drive around and be ready for the next fare, they won't make any money. So it's an interesting transition, and I just wonder, really, what's next for not only Lisbon and Portugal, but for the whole world, as we've shifted from the most bitter and violent leaderships, and arguably still going on in too many parts of the world, into more of a life shaped by capitalism all over the world. What's next? So I'd love to hear your views on that. Some people are really open to that discussion right now. Others, of course, will, wait for the further effects of capitalism and neoliberalism and us being pawns in the global capitalist economy, the corporate economy, to do anything. But, I think it's a great day to celebrate. I don't want to be talking not too much of a downer about what might be next, but just thought it was interesting to take this opportunity on Freedom Day here in Portugal to remember what a remarkable event that would have been, the Carnation Revolution, to look at where we are now from 1974 to 2018 and what might be happening in another 44 years' time. What are your hopes and dreams as somebody with a connection to Portugal in 44 years' time from now? How might it look? How would you want it to look? This has been Carl Munson on Freedom Day at Lisbon Airport on the Good Morning Portugal podcast. Look forward to talking to you again soon.